Welcome back to talknorth.com. Thank you for listening. If you can, please download before you listen. It helps our business. I'd also like to thank our producer, Brandon Morton, and let you know if you'd like to sponsor this program or any of the programs on the network, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com. talknorth.com is powered by Bite Squad. Go to bitesquad.com or download their app. Get food to your door in minutes. Use the promo code TALKNORTH to get your first delivery free. Talk North gets you your first delivery free. Before we get to the debacle, is it debacle? I mean, now we have to learn how to pronounce all these words. It's debacle. Before we get to the debacle, I do want to thank everybody who listens to talknorth.com and the Viking Update show, which you're listening to right now. And we'd like to ask you to order Bite Squad. Go to bitesquad.com, download their app, use the promo code TALKNORTH. You will get your first delivery free. Use the promo code after that, just as a favor to us. We do appreciate it. Thanks to our other sponsors, Mississippi Pub, WizKids.tech, Beaver Island Brewing, Twill in the Edina Galleria, and Tony Hoagland, your State Farm agent in Champlin, who I saw the other day at Russo's show. Thanks to everybody who's helped make the network a success. And now let's get to all this stuff. I leave for one weekend. I went to D.C., covered the Gopher game, spent some time with my kids, so I did not hustle back. I was like, why am I going to hustle back for a Bills game? They're going to win 42-0. And I know this is going to shock you, but I was wrong. And I was as wrong as I've ever been in my life about anything.
We talked last week, 16 and a half.
It seemed like light.
Spread. Yeah, well, yeah, I was like, well, what? I mean, that's a huge spread, but what are you going to do? Are you really going to say that the Bills can hang with them? And, I mean, the Bills covered the spread. So
I know, yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, this is really one of the worst losses when it comes to point spreads in the NFL. It should be embarrassing to the Vikings, and as quiet as the locker room was after the game, I think it was kind of embarrassing to them.
And it's always interesting, too, because there's a difference between reading quotes that, just cut and dried, black and white quotes in a newspaper and being there for the atmosphere of it. Because the quotes are like, oh, yeah, of course we were ready, of course we took them seriously. But you can tell a lot by how people say things. Sometimes you get a lot more out of how people say things than what they say.
Well, this is interesting because last week, trying to figure out what do the Bills have that could possibly threaten the Vikings, and I was looking at their game film, and the only thing that stood out to me was, man, they put a lot of pressure on with their front seven. And so I kept asking people about it, and, you just kind of got we see that. They're a good team. They got good players up front, all the cliche type of quotes that you would get, but they didn't handle it well. I mean, the biggest, well, it's even hard to figure out what was the biggest blunder of the game for the Vikings. Was it their protection of Kirk Cousins? Was it Cousins himself? Was it the coverage in the back end on defense? I don't know. You could pick any of those, but it all fell apart in a big hurry for the Vikings.
He's Tim Yoder, publisher of Viking Update. I'm Jim Souhan of the Star Tribune. This is our long-established and most popular show on the network. We also have a new Jeff Diamond, Vikings and NFL insider from the former Vikings general manager and agent and Tennessee Titans team president that I highly recommend as well. Check that one out as well. Want to thank Brandon Morton, our producer. Go to iTunes to subscribe to this show or any of the shows on the network. Go to your favorite podcast app. We do ask that if you can, please download. It's a better listening experience. It's better for us as well. And if you'd like to sponsor any of the shows on the network, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com. Once again, go to bitesquad.com, download their app, get food to your door in minutes. Use the promo code TALKNORTH, all one word. Bite Squad, food for your mood delivered. I am happy for Leslie Frazier. It looked like he was going to get fired and scapegoated. Those two things often go together in the NFL. And he shuts down what we thought was a very good offense.
Yeah. What they did that I thought, well, first of all, they schemed well because they had a lot of zone blitzes. They came after Cousins early. And I think that was really one of the only ways that they were going to be able to stop the Vikings offense is you knew they weren't going to have as good of a running game with Dalvin Cook out. And it wasn't just scheming well. They simply overpowered the Vikings offensive line. Jerry Hughes absolutely owned Riley Reef. It's the worst game I've seen Riley Reef play since he's been here. Hughes took it to him with speed on the edge to start, and then after setting him up that way, he got a couple bull rushes, pushing him back into Cousins and flushing him out of the pocket. It was a tremendous game for Jerry Hughes and a horrible game for Riley Reef. Reef rarely talks to the media. He makes himself available after every game. He doesn't want to talk in the locker room during the week. It's just not in his personality. But after the game, thankfully, at least he admitted he didn't have a good game. But, you know, I hate to say it, but it's been like 2 years now that I've sat here and talked about the offensive line. That's the only thing that can really derail the Vikings, and it derailed them in a big way on Sunday.
That's a very good point, and it wasn't that long ago Mike Zimmer was kind of giving us all a little dig.
Yeah, I think it was 2 weeks ago after Mike Hughes had the interception in the season opener that he said, everybody thought we should take an offensive lineman, and Mike Hughes is pretty good.
He is pretty good.
Mike Hughes is pretty. He's got a lot of learning to do, though, and that's what we've recognized, I think, in these first 3 weeks is he's got the speed. I think he's got the understanding. Zimmer said all offseason he's picked up the defense better than any rookie he's had, and yet there are coverage breakdowns. And the thing is that some of these breakdowns are so bad that I can't really tell who was supposed to have the guy.
Right.
And that's what really makes it tough to point the finger at one guy or another. Sometimes it's Hughes, I think. Anthony Barr had a pretty bad game too, and I think he was responsible for a couple of the Josh Allen runs as well as the coverage breakdowns. But in this case, while I say offensive line is an issue, it wasn't like the Vikings were going to draft a left tackle to replace Riley Reef.
Right.
And Reef really struggled. Mike Remmers struggled. I don't know if they necessarily underestimated or if they just looked slow and they weren't able to hold up to the bull rushes. So, Kyle Williams had a good game for Buffalo. He's been a very, very good defensive tackle for years now. And him and Hughes just turned the game around.
Oh, absolutely. And Remmers, Reef was the obvious problem. Remmers didn't have a great game either. For at least, I try not to be too analytical when it comes to offensive lines because I think you really have to break down the film. You have to have a really good critical eye. I'm not sure I'm always in position to do those things. So what did you think of Remmers?
I thought he got overpowered several times. The one thing that I liked that the Bills did, and I think a lot of teams should try to do this against the Vikings if they're planning it right, the Bills, they blitzed a decent amount, especially early. Sent 5, occasionally 6 guys. But they also had a lot of zone blitzes where they were bringing linebackers, dropping defensive linemen. So it wasn't always that it was just 5 guys and, they're beating one-on-one matchups. I think they kind of confused the Vikings in some of the things that they did. Now, that's not uncommon. I mean, teams do that, so the Vikings should be able to handle that. The other thing that hurt a little bit, too, was, Mike Boone making his first start. He acted like he just had to get a chip block on a pass rusher, and that's all he did, and the guy just basically got to Cousins quickly. So all of these things kind of hurt the Vikings. It also hurt that they weren't running the ball well. They gave up on the run because they got behind so quickly. And then Cousins just wasn't sharp in his throws either.
Let's talk about Latavius Murray here in a second. We do want to thank WizKids.tech. WizKids.tech, downtown Minneapolis. Michael Thannert's crew. They've built quite a business, and they can be and want to be your chief technology ally.
Hello, Minnesota sports fans. This is Michael Thannert, founder and CEO of WizKids. WizKids is a Minneapolis-based managed IT, hosted VoIP, and cloud services provider. Businesses today require fast response times, skilled support staff, clear communication, and technology recommendations that align with their business goals. At WizKids, we do this each and every day with our clients. When you call into our help desk for support or work with one of our higher-level engineers on a complex issue, you'll find our staff personable and ready to roll up their sleeves to help you solve your technology problems. Reach out to WizKids today to find out how we can help your business meet your technology goals. Visit us online at wizkids.tech. That's wizkids.tech. WizKids, make it happen.
So what's going on with Latavius Murray and the running back rotation?
Well, with Murray, he's not the guy that's gonna be out there catching a ton of passes and making people miss. He's kind of that. If he gets hit at the line of scrimmage, he's falling forward for 3 yards, and that's about what you're going to get out of him. And in this game especially, I think it really hurt not having Dalvin Cook, because previously against the Bills, the running backs were such a big part of it. Melvin Gordon had a huge game against the Bills out of the backfield, catching passes, and really stretching those linebackers out so they couldn't be a factor rushing the passer. So that's why I think Mike Boone was getting a little bit more play, because I think he's quicker, he's a little bit more elusive. But ultimately, when you're down 17-0
running back doesn't matter.
In the first quarter, they got taken out of the game by what the Bills did, by how quickly the Bills got up, and it wasn't necessarily that. There just wasn't enough out there to really judge how the running game was doing. Murray had 2 rushes, Boone had 2 rushes, Kirk Cousins had 2 rushes because he was flushed out of the pocket. And after that, it was all on Cousins in the passing game to try to make up ground.
Pat Elflein did make his debut. How did he look, and does he offer any hope of salvation here?
Initially I thought when Elflein was starting to come back that, okay, he'll probably take over at center, and he probably will, and maybe Thursday. Hard to say if that's, if he's in enough of game shape and enough of, being able to hold up against guys like Aaron Donald inside for a full game. But initially I thought, okay, if he takes over at center and then Brett Jones moves to Tom Compton's spot, that helps shore up some of the problems. Well, now that Mike Remmers had what I consider a bad game, I don't know if it's Compton or Remmers that Brett Jones should move to. And, I just haven't seen Brett Jones as a guard, so I don't know how good he would be in that position. But, eventually we are getting to the point where Elflein is going to be the full-time starter at center. And then it's just a matter of, is Jones' depth? Is he a guard? And now Compton or Remmers' depth? I think it would be Compton still, but ultimately, the whole offensive line just needs to play better.
Absolutely. Let's get to Kirk Cousins and quarterback play. Quite a change of fortune at that position for the Vikings in the span of 3 weeks. We do want to thank Mississippi Pub, MississippiPub.com, right down there in Inver Heights, right on the river, overlooking the marina. And also thanks to Beaver Island Brewing, which is a partner of ours, as we do our once-a-month live shows at Mississippi Pub during the season. We'll be letting you know when we're going to be doing an October show. If anybody has preferences, wants to bring a party out or a few people out to watch a show, and there's a certain time of week like Monday Night Football that you would like to come out and see us, let us know. We can probably be pretty flexible. We'd like to please as many of our listeners and Viking fans as possible. So check out MississippiPub.com, Inver Grove Heights, on the river by the marina, and Beaver Island Brewing. So Cousins, I thought, was very good in week 1. I thought he was incredible in week 2. What happened in week 3?
Yeah, he was incredible in week 2 late in the game when he needed to be. And that was one of the questions we had. How good of a come from behind or fourth quarter under pressure quarterback is he? And now week 3, he looked like he was feeling the pressure before it was there. Just to start the game. He ends up fumbling twice in the first 2 drives. So the first one, I don't really blame him. He was blindsided. Jerry Hughes got around Riley Reif and just made a great strip sack there. The second one, he's scrambling up the middle. There's traffic around him, and they were able to punch the ball out from behind. He's got to be a little better on that. The thing that I was most disappointed with Cousins in was his accuracy. He overshot Adam Thielen. He overshot Stephon Diggs early. Those all could have made a difference, extended drives and start to put some pressure on the Bills, kept their defense out there a little longer. And instead, we had a couple of 3-and-out drives to go. First half, I think they had 1 or 2 first downs, which is terrible. There wasn't he didn't apply the pressure the way he needed to.